Alright, now that we have the boost done, we have our sprint done, we're moving on to jumping. The jumping options, if you know, we do have function jump1 currently working. So from the programming standpoint, if I'm trying to learn about jumping, I'm looking at the script for the first time, I'm going to look, if they have a jumping already working, I want to look and see how it works. From the looks of it, they have the can jump all, so that's kind of a different one. Usually it was just jump, like the names were just can boost or can sprint. So there's a kind of a larger take to the jumps, is that if you want to turn off all jumps, you can actually use the can jump all. Okay, and then inside of it, we have an option for if can jump 2 is false and if can jump 1 is true. Now, the can jump 2, if you notice inside of here, we've already done part of the thing on the programming side is that areas where some of these functions or calls overlap with each other. If it's already been done, I've already kind of completed it all the way through. So for instance, let's go ahead and open up this one. We'll get to figuring this out soon, but if the can jump is actually turned off, then what we want to do is actually just make sure that jump 1 is repeating itself. So if you notice, over here on the side, can jump 1, if it's turned on, and if can jump 2 is off, so right there, can jump 2 is turned off, that means that if this is off, that is jumping 1 is always going to be true, which basically means that it just continues the loop inside of here, so that the player can always jump. Alright. So let's go ahead and open up this one. And if we're looking at it, we're looking at the statement and saying that if can jump 1 is true, so yes, if this is set to true, then the player can jump, which is here currently saying yes it is. Now, we have an option, we have one check right here that's saying that crouching is actually set to false. If we go down to our crouching, you'll notice we have nothing in here. The reason we don't have anything in here, but we have it here, is that, again, when some of these functions that we have are already set up so that they're checking against things. The check against this one is making sure the player isn't crouching and the player isn't grabbing onto something. Say, for instance, when we get to the grabbing state, think about a player picking up an object. Maybe you don't want the player to be able to jump while holding the object. Maybe it's if he's picking up a rock or he's picking up a really heavy crate. Kind of setting the maybe a little bit more of a realism stage to it, but you're not really going to see him jump if he's holding something really heavy. So we can have those. You could even have a case for this, is that you check for what is he holding, and if he's holding something that's a small object, then if he's grabbing a small object, he could jump. If he's grabbing a larger object, then he couldn't jump. And we could actually stick those options in there for checks. So, let's say the player can jump, and he's not crouching, and he's not holding anything. Well, that means that we can do our next check. Now, this is another part of this, is that when you're reading through code, try to break it down. Don't just open everything up like this. If I start to open everything up, sometimes it gets a little bit too much. If you want to just break it down to each one of these parts and pieces. So, we have, when we get inside of the ability to jump, then we get into 3 options. The 3 options that we have from here, let's go ahead and take a look at these. Your first option is actually doing a input get button down. So get button down means it's a single state. When I push the button, it's only connecting one time through. So even if I hold it, it's not going to make a difference. So I'm saying that if I actually push the button, and the button from the player input setting is called jump, and notice that we've already kind of set up the statement here. It's checking against all 3. It's saying that if jumping 1, which is right here, is set to true, and jumping 2 is false, and jumping 3 is false. Well, if those 2 are set to false, and last part about this is current time plus jump delay time is less than time. Alright, so what's happening right here? Well, if you remember from your time when we were creating the time functions, what it's saying is that current time, and we're going to assume current time would be what? the current time of the jump, I'm not even really sure on that one. So let's, before we jump down to these two, let's go ahead and just follow this one back up the road. I'm just going to push Control F to bring up my find option, and just do the find previous. So finding previous, the current time is equal to 0. When I find next, I'll notice that it takes me straight down to jump 1, which means that current time isn't being called up in an update or an update move direction. So what we're saying is 0, so and 0 plus jump delay time. Well, let's find out what jump delay time is. So we'll do the find previous here. Jump delay time, we're saying that half a second. So half a second is the time delay amount. Alright, so what we want is that if the player pushes the button, and it's currently been half a second since the current time, so the 0.5 is less than current time. So if current time was 0, then this statement would be false. Okay? If the current time was 5 or 6 or 7 seconds in, then this would be true. If it's true, then let's find out what you actually do. First thing that we do, typically, and this is something that you'll probably find goes pretty consistent all the way through, is that the first thing that happens is we set our Boolean statements, the isJumping option, to false. That way it only plays through once, for just kind of a guaranteed. The spot right below there, we're actually grabbing current time. So that way the next time we go through here, it's going to be the current time of that last one that we did. Alright, now, and that's going to be able to be added to our jump delay. So that's going to be current time. So if the current time was 3, let's say it was 3 seconds, then 3 plus 0.5 would be 3.5, and 3.5 has to be less than the ongoing time. Alright, so if I push the jump button and instantly push the jump button again, it's not going to work. It's going to require that 0.5 second delay before it actually works. Alright, so we grab our current time. We have our animation that we're actually calling up, so we have that crossfade again. And we're calling up the animation called jump1.name. After that, we have something called current jump height, and we're saying that our current jump height is going to equal jump 1. Alright, so if we go up to current jump height, let's find that one real quick. So up at the top, we have current jump height, and that's going to be the height the character can jump. So let's find that one more time. Now, we have this one set, and notice we just simply reassign it to here. We could also, from the looks of it, if I'm looking through this code, I'm like, well, why do we have this? We could actually just say inner velocity y equals jump 1, and we could just assign it directly. So possibly looking at this, we could say, well, maybe we stick with the same kind of coding practice, but it doesn't. Sometimes it may not completely make sense to us right now. Maybe the programmer is actually calling this up somewhere else and requires having a separate name for it. So anyways, though, we have the inner velocity y. So y means that this is probably a vector 3, and the y value is up and down. So we'll say inner velocity up and down, the y value is going to be equal to the jump height, which is jump 1. And then once we have that set, we're just going to print a message that lets us know the animation state we're getting into is jump 1. Alright? Now, if we didn't push the jump button, and we're still checking for a few other things here, we want to go ahead and just check then. And for instance, with this one, if the player jumped and is on the ground, then set up for a combo move. So, if we can jump, and we're not pushing the button, but the player's on the ground and jumping's false, which means jumping false is here, which means we did go through this stage. And jumping 2 is false, and 3 is false. So, based on this, we're saying that all the jump types are false, so that means that we can actually go into combo 2. Alright, now we're going to yield once just because we need to actually go through everything before we set the other one to false and jumping to true. Alright? So if we keep reading down through here, we see that the else if, we have the controller, collider, hurt, and attacking. These two options, we don't have to worry about these just yet, but this is going to be something that we work on when we start working on the attack and the hurt. Alright. So at this point, we have the startup for our combo to happen, and we have our basic jump happening right there. Alright. So the next thing that we'll do is get into the jump 2 and create the code for this.